Well, soon to maybe not be.
Dude, we need to get some more. I wanted to see what one would look like. Now, again, lids. We ain't going back to lids because this was way too expensive. The hat itself was like $30, and then the embroidery was like 15. So ended up being like $45, which is not feasible. But it gets me something to rock around. I've been rocking it around. I like it. I do like
exactly.
So you saw what I'm talking about with the bold font.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's definitely readable. It looks sick.
Then I
like
say we
it.
throw like the recliner right here, and then I think we do recliner sports report on like the back top right here.
Yeah,
like,
we just have to find one of those hat making companies that
logo here, and then recliner sports report.
Yeah, I like it.
Right? I think
What's
I got
up, everybody? Throw in a comment if you think that's a sick hat and you would rock it.
Yeah, if you think the hats look nice and you would buy one, let us know. We'll start taking pre-orders. I definitely have a hat guy up here in Gloucester. For any actually T-shirts or stuff made, Alan over at Sundance Screen Print up in Gloucester, Mass. He's great. We use him at my other job. He hooks us up, so I'm definitely probably going to go to him because I know he can get us a good deal on some stuff. So, and he's got tons of stuff in stock, like good styles and stuff. So I also made a bucket hat. You can check that out on TikTok and our social medias. Let us know about the bucket hat too. I kind of like the bucket hat, honestly, too.
I like the bucket hat too. Bucket hat's sick.
The bucket hat was fire. All right. Recliner Sports Reporters, welcome back to another week's episode of Knockout Bets Podcast. I'm Mac, and with me, as always, is Andrew. Tonight, we are going to talk about UFC Fight Night, Santos versus Hill. Wild main event here for this one. Jamal Hill is such a electric come up fighter, and Thiago Santos, you already know the deal on him. He's a brawler, and he's a warrior, so this is definitely has all the potential to be an amazing fight. But the first fights that we're going to talk about, we got the two Ultimate Fighter finales. Then we're going to be talking about Vicente Luque, Jeff Neal, and then Thiago Santos and Jamal Hill. So our first fight of the night that we're going to talk about, the first Ultimate Fighter finale matchup is the women's flyweight division, which honestly, I got to, before we get into this, man, I know we've talked about this a lot. Not 100% impressed with the Ultimate Fighter this year.
I think that's an understatement. I think if you're ranking seasons, and I haven't even watched every single season, and I feel confident in saying that season 30 might be the 30th best season.
Yeah.
It has been a really lackluster season. I mean, we're going to talk about these next couple of fights. We have some picks and some breakdowns for them. We're going to see if anybody, the men's or the women's, we'll see over the next couple of years if anybody goes anywhere in the UFC from this season, and I think it's more likely not than that they do. When we get into our breakdowns
we're talking about two really, really good divisions, and we know who the champs are in those divisions, and I'm not seeing any of these girls right away make a statement like a couple of the other seasons ago where we've seen some people who've really come up and had some great debuts.
We've seen Ultimate Fighter winners that have become champions. I mean, the brother of one of the guys in the finals, Kamaru Usman, came off the Ultimate Fighter, and
I'll let you know my opinion on that one when we get to it for sure.
I think we share that. But like him or Volk is the number one pound for pound fighter in the world right now.
Yeah.
Even going way back to the beginning, Rashad Evans came off, I think, season 2 of the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
You had Forrest Griffin on season 1. I mean, there's Hall of Fame fighters that have come off the Ultimate Fighter. Whether some of these guys or girls, even crack the top 15 remains to be seen. I feel pretty safe in saying none of them is going to be in the Hall of Fame by the end of their career.
No.
You're looking at 3 out of the 4 in these finals are fighters that are already like in their mid-30s.
Yeah.
So they don't even have a lot of time to do it.
It's going to be interesting for sure. But here we are, the finale. the matchups actually, I like the matchup a lot, and I think the line's pretty close on this. We got Juliana Miller versus Brogan Walker. Andrew, give me your first thoughts on this one.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the tough season, um, something about Juliana Miller's personality just came off to me personally as a little bit annoying, if I'm being honest. And I know, things are edited for TV and you don't always see the whole story and this, that, and the other. But it's like, oh, this. Honestly, when I watched her first fight, I rooted for her to lose. And then I saw her fight, and then I saw her fight a second time, and then they told more of her story. And I honestly did like a kind of complete 180 on her. And I really like her story. I like her mental preparation that she talks about. I like the way that she fights. Um, she's one of my favorite style of fighters to bet on. She just comes forward and is super aggressive. She's tenacious. She's going to push the pace. She has really not very good at all striking, but the volume and the aggression that she throws it with um, makes it sort of effective, especially against other low-level fighters. And she uses it pretty decently to try to set up her takedowns, that's her bread and butter. Is she is an incredible grappler and has an extensive grappling background, and she wants to get the fight to the ground where she can work her jiu-jitsu, work her funky submissions, and that's her most common, most likely path to victory. But she doesn't shoot like the traditional double leg takedowns or even single leg. She a lot of the time like goes to the back and uses funky, like they're not even like judo style trips, but just kind of funky, weird trips, and is able to get the fight to the ground. And definitely is, if she's able to get this one to the ground, has the advantage in the grappling and the jiu-jitsu there by a good amount. Brogan Walker is interesting. She's got some names on her record that are pretty big names in women's MMA. She has a win over Miranda Maverick, which is a really impressive name to have a win over, and that was 3 years ago. And Miranda Maverick's come a long way since then, but that's still, not to be discounted fully. She's also been in the cage with and lost to Pearl Gonzalez and Erin Blanchfield. Some recognizable names there. She's a striker primarily. She has really good hooks, pretty solid power, good in the pocket. Her wins on tough just were not that impressive to me. She had a fight where she came out pretty solidly in the first round, then gets her back taken for a bunch of the second round, and then squeaks it out in the third round. And honestly, I don't even remember her other fight. I think she fought the girl that came in on short notice because the other girl didn't make weight, and the fight, it just doesn't stick in my memory, and I didn't have time to go back and watch it before talking here. But it's not one of those ones that sticks in my memory, even though I watched it relatively recently. I've read a little bit about her, and I've heard that she has wrestling, but we really didn't see that on The Ultimate Fighter. And in fact, her defensive wrestling actually looked pretty poor. I think this is a really close fight. I think the line is right about where it should be. It's pretty close to a pick'em fight. Miller is a slight favorite. I'm rooting for Miller. I've put a small bet on Miller already. I'm going to see where the line goes in the next few days, and I may bump that up and put a second bet on Miller if I can get another number that I like. But I do think it's a really, really close fight. I think if Walker is able to stay off the ground, I think she wins. And I think if it goes to the ground, Miller's live for a submission at any point. And also just to win 2 out of 3 rounds by holding her down if she's able to do that. That's how I see this one playing out.
Yeah, I think for me, I was the same boat as you with Miller. But I'm going with Walker here for this one, just strictly based off of the level of competition that she's faced. I mean, a win over Miranda Maverick, that's a pretty big deal, especially where we know Miranda is now. We know Blanchfield's a great fighter, and we know Gonzalez is a great fighter. So I do think that, she's a very well-rounded fighter. It's really hard to ever tell with with Ultimate Fighters what's going to happen, because we've seen some absolute crazy things happen. For me, the main thing is I like the dog money line on this one. I like the plus money side of things on this one. So I'm going to be rocking with Walker on this one. But, again, don't count out Miller's ground game. Miller definitely has the potential to get herself into a position that she can throw a submission up, and Walker's definitely going to have to respect that. But I think if Walker can keep this thing and keep to her game plan and keep it on the feet, and then again use her ground game smart and not get tied up in really weird positions where we know Miller's going to be able to scramble into something and slip into a sneaky submission. I think Walker's going to get out of this one okay, and I think she's going to get the win. I think another line for this one is the over, and if it's going to go the distance, I do think that this could be one of those just 3-round, just what the heck did we just watch? I could see the potential for that happening too. I think this thing could also end really quickly with a submission. I don't think this is going to end in a knockout. I think Miller's a tough fighter, and I think Walker's a tough fighter. The only way I see this fight ending is if one of them gets in a submission. So for me, I want to take the over or the will it go the distance. I think that's a good angle to look at it for this one.
Yeah, so those are for fight goes to decision, you're looking around minus 350. For the over 2.5, you're looking around minus 400. So maybe you want to parlay those with something. I've done well recently with taking the overs in
Looks like I'm not the only one.
The same card, and
I'm not the only one who thinks that. Then all right. So
yeah, I've done well though with taking the overs in women's fights on the same card and parlaying them together recently. So like last week, I had the over 2.5 in Pena Nunez, and I parlayed that with over 2.5 with Kim and Edwards, and putting those two together got me small plus money, and that bet obviously hit. So that's maybe one way to look at it is you're looking at a minus 350 even if you're going goes the distance. But
right.
If you find another one that you like or just something else that you like, that's a potential parlay piece. I would stay away from that personally, just because, like you were talking about, I do think especially Miller is live for a submission. So I don't want to lay minus 350 when I feel like there's an okay chance of a submission happening. And yeah, I like the reasons that you're on the other side, and I'm just going with the grittiness and the tenacity of Miller. But totally understand the experience and the level of competition angle.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Zach Pauga versus Muhammad Usman. I'm just going to go ahead and start this one off, Andrew.
Do it.
I was not impressed with Muhammad Usman on this series. I think, to me, what I'm looking at with him, and again, maybe it's just because him and his brother are two different fighters, and two totally different body sizes. But when I look at Kamaru and the way he flows and the way he in level chain, he looks so athletic. Muhammad is just a big dude, and you watch his training footage, he just looks stiff. He looks like all he's doing is just throwing power, but he just doesn't look that athletic. And I think, to me, Zach is the better all-around fighter. I think Zach has the toughness. I think he has the experience. And I think, again, technique-wise and athleticism, he kind of reminds me of could be like Tui here coming up. I think he's athletic, but he's also big and has power too. So for me, I think the line is right where it should be. I do think that this is a big favorite. If Muhammad wins, it's going to be by knockout, and he's going to get him with a shot. But again, Muhammad, to me, has been the biggest. He has his brother's name, but he's just not mobile. That's my biggest. You watch his sparring videos when they do the montages, and it just looks like he's just moving slow. And to me, I think Zach's quicker. I think his striking's better. I think he's a faster and more explosive fighter, and he can mix in more mixed martial arts and mix in some ground game. And I always say too, it's like the guys with no neck, they're stiff, right? They got their traps moving everywhere. Zach looks like the more athletic fighter, I think Zach's going to take this one home and become the Ultimate Fighter champion.
We are definitely on the same side for some of the same reasons. I mean, Muhammad Usman did win his first fight in tough because the other guy was kind of screwing around and talking to him too much and talking to him and then getting punched in the face and losing the fight because he was messing around too much. But he could have lost that first fight. The second fight was a split decision. I did think that Usman won it, but it wasn't pretty. It was a greasy decision. It's not surprising that it was a split decision. I think he won just basically on volume, not even on really any sort of effectiveness of anything that he did. And I agree. You know, he's got that name. Not super impressed with him as a fighter. He does have power in the hands, like you said. If he wins, that's very likely the scenario is you know, we're talking about heavyweights. When we're talking about heavyweights, almost anybody can catch a shot at any time. These dudes are big and they hit hard. The one only thing that does give me the tiniest bit of hesitation is I do think Usman's going to have an okay size advantage in this fight. So Zach is a natural light heavyweight. He usually fights at 205, and he came up to heavyweight so that he could be on the Ultimate Fighter, and he obviously did well. He got the knockout in his second fight. And like you said, he moves faster. You know, he's a natural 205er. He's light on the feet for a heavyweight. Decent wrestling also. Definitely better technique than Usman. I mean, Usman just wings a lot of overhand rights. That's what he does over and over and over again. Kind of pumps the jab and wings the overhand right, and that's kind of his MO. And even if you go back further into some of his older fights, the guys that he has beat, he's just beat by size and strength, kind of, not by any technique. He's still, even with having really good coaches, he's getting better, but he's got a long way to go still, I think. And you're talking about a guy that's 33, 34 years old, whatever he is. You know, it's starting to get late for that to happen. The skill set is definitely lacking. Like I said, the overhand right is kind of the calling card. And if you just look at, you know, a couple of his two losses that he has on his record are really the only two times he's fought UFC caliber. And I don't even know that you say that Brendan Sales, at the point that he fought him, is UFC caliber, but he lost to Dante Almays, which, you know, let's not talk about that fight last week because that was ugly and I had a huge bet on him. And then, like I mentioned, lost to Brandon Sales in the PFL. And I remember watching, that's one that does stick in my memory. That was not a pretty fight for Usman at all whatsoever. And Brandon Sales also at the time was like 40 years old. It was just not impressive. And his tough fights weren't impressive. And so it's like, where's even the moment in his career that you point to that it's like, you know, oh, that's impressive? Because even if you look, like we talk about, his tough fights are his two most recent. Losing to 40-year-old Brandon Sales is the one before that, and then the guy he beats before that was 2-6 coming into the fight. So yeah, they're setting it up what they can because he's got the last name Usman. He has another guy he's beat who's 6-6. I mean, you know, as he started out in his career, most guys do fight guys with few fights on their record. So you see, you know, like 5-1, he's got to win over. But yeah, there's just nothing that you can really hang your hat on for Muhammad Usman other than the last name Usman. And because I do think it's accurate for predicting the fight, for Usman name was going to carry something. And I guess we'll Friday night or Saturday morning, maybe this line comes back a little bit, but I doubt it. at this point. I was hoping to get a better number on Pauga, but I did bet him earlier in the week before the line went down as far as it is now. I mean, I think I got it at 230, and now it's like 260, so it's not that huge of a difference, but beat a tiny bit of a line move. And I didn't bet that straight. I parlayed that actually with the next fight that we're going to talk about, and so that's probably giving away who my pick is for the next one. But yeah, I'm with you. It's Pauga all the way, and it's, this is not the same Usman.
No. All right. Our next fight is Vicente Luque versus Jeff Neal. Vicente Luque is coming in at 21-8-1. Jeff Neal is coming in at 14-4. Vicente is the slight favorite at -180, and Jeff Neal I'm seeing here, as we can see him, plus 155. Andrew, what's your first thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so I kind of gave it all away by saying I parlayed Pauga with one of these guys. I mean, you probably wouldn't parlay him with Neal, so it's pretty obvious I've parlayed Pauga with Vicente Luque. Vicente Luque hits really hard. He mixes his striking well. He's got really great takedown defense. He's got great grappling and submissions. However, his takedown offense is, I think I read somewhere, or heard somebody say that he doesn't have a takedown since like 2017 or something like that, or 2019. Anyway, it's been a few years since he's had a takedown. He's a primary striker, even though his submission game is incredible, and has a submission win, at least one, in the past couple of years. He kicks really well too. I think chopping the legs is going to be big for him in this fight. I think he'll do it, and I think that's one of the things that's going to slow Neal down and help Luque to either pick it apart on the feet to a decision win or find a finish as the fight goes on. Luque is definitely more wild a little bit in the way that, contrastingly, Neal is more technical. Neal is also a really great striker. He's also got really great power in the hands, really good boxing, also has some kicks, also has really good takedown defense. So between Luque's takedown offense not being that great and Neal's takedown defense being pretty good, I think we're going to see this one mostly play out on the feet. I do not think that either one of these guys is going to be able to take each other down. I think we're going to see a striking battle. Neal definitely has a finishing instinct when he gets somebody hurt, and Luque can be rocked. So that's definitely something to worry about a little bit for me as betting Vicente Luque, but he's incredibly tough. I don't think you can compare anybody to Drew Dober, and we saw him do it like again this past weekend, take that rocking shot and come back and get the finish. And his fight against Terrence McKinney still sticks in my mind as like one of the wildest, like 5 minutes of a fight that I've ever seen. But yeah, Neal likes to be in and out, where Luque likes to be more wild and be kind of in your face and in the pocket is where he does his best work. I just think that Luque has better experience and better wins against higher level guys. As soon as we've seen Neal break into the top 15, he's really kind of run into some stumbling blocks, and he has had some major health issues, and hope that he's happy and healthy and fighting to the best of his abilities. But we obviously saw the loss to Wonder Boy, the loss to Neil Magny, and then he did win a split decision against Ponzinibbio the last time out, where I actually think Ponzinibbio got robbed. Now, I might be a little biased because I had a bet on Ponzinibbio that night, but that was a super, super, super close fight against a guy who's getting a little older and not what he once was. And when you look at kind of the same thing for Luque, obviously he had Bilal Muhammad wrestle him to death in his most recent fight, but wins against Chiesa and Tyron Woodley, and even guys like Randy Brown and Nico Price going back a little further, those are impressive. That's an impressive 4-fight win streak, all 4 of those guys. And I just think that Luque is going to be the guy going after it harder. I think Luque's got the advantage on the feet, and I see this playing out on the feet. I think he's going to kick the legs to death and slow him down and either piece him up for a decision or find a finish maybe in the second or third round.
Yeah, I'm with you on Vicente Luque, man. I think Vicente Luque is one tough SOB. I think his striking is par to none. I think Jeff Neal's a great fighter, but I think Luque gets this done. I know I was worried about him. I mean, I had him to beat Belil, and I think you're right. Like I said, it just was really the wrestling that took over. I don't think Jeff Neal is going to be as good as Belal Muhammad is at wrestling. I think if this thing's
Not
going to
even
be
close.
striking, I do think Vicente Luque has a really great stand-up game and enough speed and power to get him. Like you said, he hits like a truck. He's got speed, he's got power, he's got everything on the feet that's going to go well for him. I think he's going to get this done.
I like it. I like that we're on the same side on that one.
All right. Our last fight of the night, we got Thiago Santos coming in at 22-10 versus Jamal Hill, 10-1. Very wide line here. Santos is a plus 250 underdog, which makes you almost want to take it. And Jamal Hill is minus 310. Andrew, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so these are two fighters. I'm a huge fan of both of them. I think Jamal Hill is the truth. I think he's part of the future at 205. I think he's a guy who's going to get into the top 5 possibly as soon as after this fight. If not, it takes one more maybe. But going to be in the top 5 soon and going to hang out in the top 5 for a long time. I think he's got the potential to be a champion. I think we'll see some really fun fights. Like there's a whole changing of the guard at 205 that's happening. I mean, you have these guys, Thiago Santos, Anthony Smith, Jan Blachowicz, Glover Teixeira, that are all getting up there in years and getting up there in miles. Like Ankalaev and I would put Jamal Hill in that same category that are coming for the top of 205. And this I really see as one of those kind of changing of the guard type fights. I think Hill, like I said, Hill's on the come up. He's the truth. He's got the skills. Could be a champion in this weight class when really well and created how accurate he is at 205. He's got decent kicks too, and facing Santos, who fought at 185 for a lot of his career, Hill could have a little bit of a size advantage in this fight, which he can definitely use to his advantage. Santos, oh man, I mean, I think everybody, when you think about him, the highlight of his career is his fight with John Jones and going all 5 rounds with the champ, having his ACLs blown out and still having that be an absolute war. And that ended up being a split decision. One of the judges gave that to Santos against John Jones. And he just has not been the same since. He has not been the killer that we saw before the knees went, before the just absolute war with John Jones. We've seen him turn into a fighter. Like he's not in bursts a little bit here and there that he's got left. Like he'll give it a burst. He'd knock down Ankalaev, for instance. But you see him, and it's so unfortunate because he was such an exciting fighter even a handful of years ago. But you see him in a lot of boring fights these days. Like his fight with Ankalaev was really not very interesting. His fight with Johnny Walker was like one of the fights that I was the most excited and the most let down by because it was so incredibly boring. He's turned into a guy who has really great power still. He still carries that power. and he has really good striking defense. And at least for the first few rounds or so, he has pretty good movement. And so he puts himself into these pretty boring fights. And I think Jamal Hill is going to bring the fight to him a lot more than Johnny Walker did, or Ankalaev, or some of his other fights recently. And so I don't think we're going to see that, but it's possible. We definitely see a slower Santos who looks for that kind of moment of explosion to try to end the fight all at once. I think, other than that moment of explosion, Hill just has to be careful that he's not too aggressive coming in, because Santos does have that one hit quit power still. And if Hill's coming in too aggressively, that he's definitely open to getting hit with a counter that could either rock him or put him out. But this seems pretty clear Hill to me. I bet Hill actually in a parlay before last week's card that's still alive. I had it with Morales and Drakkar Close from last week, and then I have Terrence McKinney and Jamal Hill this week, all four of them parlayed together. And I feel really good about that one, especially since Drakkar Close pulled out the close decision. McKinney's like minus 900 or something now. I got it a little bit better line than that last week. And, everybody expects him to dominate. And this one seems pretty clear Hill to me.
Yeah, I'm on with you on this one. I think Thiago Santos is a great fighter, but I think his time has come, and I think Jamal Hill is the next best thing coming up, and he's going to bring the fight, and he's explosive, and he's powerful, and he's exciting to watch. I think I'm right with you on this one. I think Jamal Hill gets it done. I think really what you want to look at here is to finish. I don't think this thing's going to go the distance. I would definitely slam the under, and I do think that Jamal Hill is going to get a finish here in this fight.
So you can get, oh wow, everybody's looking at the under too. I'm actually surprised by these. Wow, this blows my mind a little bit. So under 2.5, you're looking at about minus 165. And this is crazy how these books are assuming Best Fight Odds has the right stuff out here. The best number that you can get right now. Oh, I'm looking at it backwards. That's why I screwed myself up there. You can get under 1.5 at plus 128. So if you think Hill's going to get it done in the first 7.5 minutes, which there's a possibility, then that's what you're looking at there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at Hill by finish, you're very likely just looking at KO, and that number is actually pretty crazy too. Your best KO line right now is minus 140 for Hill. I'm feeling like, this has come down a lot since where I bet it. I bet it at minus 260. Now you're looking at, I guess it's not that huge of a move, but you're looking at minus 300 as your best money line on Hill right now. So I think that's a parlay piece maybe on the money line, and that's one of those where if you put in a big parlay and the whole thing hits, it's the last fight of the night, and it's a wide line, and you can hedge out with Santos if you feel like you want to.
Right. All right. That takes us to our knockout bets of the night. Andrew, who you got for your knockout bet?
Yeah. Oh, this feels like taking the cheap, easy way out, but I've tended to do that the last few weeks for whatever reason. I'm going to go Terrence McKinney by knockout, and I think the only way that doesn't happen is if he submits him instead.
That's so funny. That was actually I was debating on whether or not I want to do Terrence or this other one. So since you took T-Rex, I'm going to go Jamal Hill. I'm going to take Jamal Hill for my knockout bet.
I like it.
I think he's going to get it done. And if you want to get even crazier, first round knockout.
There you go.
All right. My lottery ticket is a plus 200. So not a huge odds, especially since it's a four-teamer. But I'm going Brian Battle, Terrence McKinney, Zach Pauga, and Vicente Luque. That's my lottery ticket for you.
Okay. Yeah. Plus 200 is not a huge lottery ticket. So this whole card feels like really chalky to me. Like there are just cards that have a feeling like, yeah, like you feel like all the favorites are gonna win, and that's kind of how I feel on this card. And there are other cards where you feel like, oh, 4 or 5 underdogs might win on this card. Um, I mean, I have like one fight that's crazy, that's kind of lottery ticket like, and I'm actually gonna pull something up with it here. I think that despite not having won a fight in his last 8 fights and somehow still being in the UFC, I think that Michael Jacek is not that good, and Sam Alvey has showed that he still has some in the tank, even though he hasn't been winning in quite a while. I think the line is disrespectful to him. I'm seeing a plus 480 on the money line as the best number out there right now, and I'm going to be betting Sam Alvey. I think he should be an underdog, but I think he should be an underdog more in the plus 200, plus 250 range. I think this line is a little out of control, and I think he's got a better chance to win that fight than where the number is. And I think also that if I'm giving him a chance to win, he's not going to submit him. That's not his game. He's either going to win by KO TKO or he's going to win a decision. And plus 1200, call me crazy, plus 1200 on a Sam Alvey KO TKO. I might do a little sprinkle on that.
I like that. I like that a lot. I'm going to be looking at that. I'm going to be tracking that one. I think I'm going to tail you on that one.
And it's like, I don't even have, like, if I had, if we're plus 480 right now, we might get over plus 500 on the money line by Saturday. And like, I don't even have a second underdog that I would want to like lottery ticket that together with. Like, I really just feel like the favorites are going to run shit this weekend.
Yeah, so do I. I think it has one of those feelings. I think you're exactly right. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you for tuning in again to another week's episode of Knockout Bets Podcast. As always, we appreciate all the love and support. Andrew, any final words?
Yeah, 2 things. One more serious and one that's just exciting. Brittany Griner today was sentenced to 9 years in prison in Russia for having like vape pens with a little bit of weed in them in what was very clearly a politically motivated sentencing. And it's sad. It's incredibly anger inducing. Wish the best for her family and loved ones. And whatever it takes, prisoner swap, I guess, kind of thing is the next step. But whatever it takes to get her home, Biden, whatever branch of the government, whoever it is that makes those kinds of decisions, I hope they get out soon, and I hope they get her home safely to her family as soon as possible. And then changing gears completely, happy fucking football season. Today is the first day, Hall of Fame game, Raiders and Jaguars. I saw it was delayed by lightning, so I don't know if the game has started while we've been talking. But
6-0 right now, and it's looking good for the over.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know why I would bet a preseason. I mean, I did have a reason, so
because
we want to. I don't know why. But so
we need it.
Preseason football is so volatile, but I just looked at the teams. I looked at who's playing and who's not playing, and I bet the Raiders minus 2.5. I think they are going to have better quarterbacks in this game. The Jaguars are not even playing their top 2 guys. They're playing their 3 and 4 guys on the depth chart. And the Raiders have Nick Mullins, and I forget who the other guy